Hey guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and today's video is called VOIP Contract Terms Explained. Now, this video is long overdue. I got a lot of notes, so I'm going to be looking at my tablet here to basically be able to stay on track. For those of you who are wondering how do VOIP contracts work, how do I know that I don't get in over my head and that I make the right decision and that I know what, is entailed in a contract and also what is required or expected of me. I'm going to cover most all of that in this video, so feel free to grab your pad and take notes. So let's jump right into this. VOIP contract terms explained. So as you can imagine, I get a lot of questions from a lot of people in regards to the different confines surrounding VOIP contract terms. They're not as complicated and really not as daunting as most people may think, but while I know a lot of you are watching and thinking, Prince, that's not true, or, I'm skeptical, or maybe you came from a really bad relationship with another voice over IP service provider, I see that a lot as well. So folks tend to be kind of skeptical of going into a new contract with a new carrier. We're going to cover some of that. So I've broken this down into a couple of points of, I guess you could say, frequently asked questions, or, really like the most notable aspects of the contract or contract terms. So we're going to go through these one by one. First and foremost, types of term lengths. With VOIP contracts, the types of term lengths are month-to-month, 12-month, 24-month, and 36-month. In short, that's month-to-month contract, 1 year, 2 years, or 3 year. You don't typically pay annually. That's one of the biggest questions that I get asked a lot when I'm working with folks for a new voice over IP contract or whatever it may be. Whenever I tell them, I'm going to put you on for example, I usually tell people, hey, the typical is a 24-month, or if you want me to try to get you free phones, most providers, they want a 36-month, and I can get you free phones for every single one of your members. And typically the first thing that I'll get asked is, well, Prince, I don't want to pay my entire bill 12 months in advance or 24 months in advance or 36 months in advance. It doesn't work like that. You would still pay your bill monthly, just like you would with any other voice over IP service provider. All it means is that you're in a 12-month, 24-month, or a 36-month agreement, meaning you're committing to that same amount of time. To put it in a better context, for example, for most of you who are watching, you probably have internet service through a provider of your choice, Comcast, Cox, Suddenlink, Mediacom, all those guys. They typically require like a 24-month or a 36-month, with 24-month usually being kind of the average. They don't make you pay the whole 12, 24, 36 months up front. You're just committing to the term for that long, but you're still paying your bill every single month, just to clear that up. So typical contract term is month-to-month, 12-month, 24-month, and 36 months, billed monthly, so you're paying monthly. Let's see here. One thing I do want to throw out there is that there are some service providers, we won't get into who they are, but there are some out there that you can pay 12 months up front. Typically, I've never seen anybody ask for more than 12 months up front, but you can pay 12 months up front to get a really big discount. I've seen it as high as 15 to 20% or something like that. The most outrageous terms that I've ever seen is I've seen some carriers who are not to be mentioned in this video out of respect for them and so that their attorneys don't show up at my door. But I've seen some carriers try to get people for contracts for 6 to 8 years. Personally, I think that's outrageous. If I saw, if I were in your shoes, this is just word of warning and my honest advice as an expert in the field. Any provider that's asking you for a 6 to 8 year contract, I'm sorry, just walk away. Typically, the only providers that I see that are willing to even push that card is service providers that are either super hard up for money, meaning they are close to bankruptcy or just finished filing bankruptcy, true story, or service providers that are on a very old or antiquated phone system technology, such as old on-premise PBXs or very outdated cloud services or something like that. Simply put, and just to speak openly and freely, they know that they're on an antiquated service that is dying. So they're thinking, if I get this person on a 6 to 8 year contract even though our technology or our offering is going to probably die in 3 years or less, we'll at least still have some cash flow. I mean, I'm just being honest. Typically, anybody who's asking for 6 to 8 years or something stupid like that, 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, just walk away, because they're probably on the verge of bankruptcy, or they're selling something that's so old, they know that, you know, if it wasn't for you being stuck in a contract, you'd be looking for other options later anyways to get with the times. So just being honest. Let's see here. All right, point number 2. So what happens at the end of your contract term typically? Most service providers, well, I won't say most, back in the day, most service providers will go to a month-to-month. There are still some that will just automatically put you on a month-to-month. Like, for example, at the time of this video, our service provider that we currently use, or when it happened, we've had them for almost 14 years, I think going on 15 years. And originally we signed a 24-month agreement, but I've been on a month-to-month now for over 10 years, long past the original term. Some carriers still do an auto-renew on a month-to-month, and they honor your same price. Other carriers will honor your same price, but they will auto-renew at the same term that you originally signed up for. For example, to put that into context, let's say that you originally signed up on a 36-month, and your monthly bill was, we'll just say for the sake of conversation, $24.99 per month. At the end of your 36 months, you're going to auto-renew for another 36 months, but your price isn't going to go up. That's how most of them do, small disclaimer there. Most of them, as in most that we work with and that I see in the industry, you would auto-renew for the same term that you originally signed for with the same price. Now, I want to be clear, because one of the biggest questions that I get asked, well, actually, that's going to be the next question we get to, so let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's see here. So as I mentioned, auto-renew for the same term. Some will do a month-to-month, but if you want to be sure, just ask them. Most people will just ask me point blank, hey, Prince, what will happen at the end of my term when I get close to renewal or get to the end of my term? I'll usually just drop an email to the service provider, to whoever we're dealing with, and say, hey, client wants to know what's going to happen at the end of their auto renewal, what's going to happen with their term, and what's going to happen with their price at the end of their contract. And then that way we get it directly from the service provider in writing, so that there's no mistake and nobody can ever go back and say, oh, you never told me this or whatever. And that way also the client, or you, the viewer, the potential client, has something in writing where you could easily say, hey, this is what you guys told me was going to happen at the time, if this were to change or whatever. So that's what I would recommend. But if you're working with us to consult for your stuff, we can easily ask and get it in writing for you, so you know exactly what's going to happen at the end of your term, and what to expect from a potential price increase and from a contract renewal standpoint. Point number 3, which was what I meant when I said I was putting the cart before the horse. Does your price go up at the end of the term? This is the number one question that I get asked is my price going to go up at the end of the term? Typically, 99% of the time, in all of my experience with the legitimate carriers that are not so hard up for money that they need to just completely just take you to the bank, no. To put it in a context, I don't mind telling you guys, with the carrier that we have, when I originally signed up, I paid $19.99 per month per extension before taxes. I've had said carrier now for about 15 years, and I still pay $19.99 per month per extension. As a matter of fact, we recently just brought on a new consultant, an associate on our team, and I had to get her an extension. And when I got her extension, I pay now an extra $19.99 per month for that extension, plus taxes, of course. The only thing that I have seen go up on the bill, and the only thing that I typically see go up on anybody's bill with anybody that I've worked with to get voice over IP over the last decades, is their taxes and surcharges. And that's, unfortunately, that is the service provider passing off to you the surcharges and the taxes imposed upon them, as well as along with inflation. So there's nothing you can really do about that. Part of that is just taxation from the government, and then the other part of it is just inflation, just the nature of business and economics. But in all of my experience, I have, contrary to what we see with some of your older phone system service providers and whatnot, the big internet guys and all that have been known for just raising your price little by little by little. We get those calls. I get those calls all the time of people that are like, hey Prince, my bill from XYZ company, not to be named in this video, keeps going up and up and up. It's time to switch to voice over IP because it's an old antiquated service and they'll ask me, will my price go up and up and up? In our experiences, no. I can't speak for every provider, but for the major legitimate ones that we normally work with, for example, your Nextiva, your Ring Central, your Vonage, your OnSip, they don't just raise prices like that. I've not personally ever seen them raise prices like that, except on the taxes and surcharges because of taxes imposed upon them, as we already mentioned, and inflation. And I've got clients as old as 12 to 15 years, and I still know what their general monthly bill is and whatnot. And they've, long been out of contract on a month-to-month or whatever it may be. So let's see here. Point number 4, what happens if you cancel? This is probably the second biggest question that I get asked next to the one about, at the end of my term, is my price going to go up? Plainly put, it's really this simple. If you're on a month-to-month and you cancel, you only owe the prorate of whatever you owe for that month when you cancel because you're on a month-to-month. If you're on a term, like a 12-month, a 24-month, a 36-month, typically what happens with most service providers, you owe the rest of that term, literally. Now, I know a lot of you are watching this and you're probably thinking, oh my God, that's horrible. Not necessarily. This is really how contracts have worked for eons, even with your internet service provider. You cancel your internet, you typically owe them for the term, or they want some really giant, cancellation fee, as they call it, for you to get out. I'm not saying that this is good or bad. It's just the nature of the business, fortunately and unfortunately. But typically with the voice over IP service providers, if you're not on a month-to-month and you decide to cancel, you owe them the rest of the term. One other question that I get asked a lot is, what about my phones, Prince? If they gave me phones, do I have to give them my phones back? The answer is, with most of them, no. I've had many service providers almost laugh when they get asked that question by me or by the client in a demo or on a discovery call, and they usually will say verbatim, we just want the money for the service. We are not in the business of selling phones or making money off phones. We're in the business of selling service. They don't care about the phones. They don't want the hardware back. They just want the money for the term. Now, I do want to be very clear when I say most of them have something in their contract where if you're experiencing serious problems with your voice over IP service that you can prove, whether it be you personally or your IT staff, or you've got a good service provider, which some of them, I've seen it a few times, some of them, they honestly admit that the reason that you're having issues is them, something on their end, which they cannot resolve. Typically, any good carrier will let you out of that contract without any issues. I'll give you a great example. We had a client recently. It was a law firm. Not a law firm, I'm sorry. It was an insurance agency. Recently, this was less than a month and a half ago, that was really happy to sign up with the carrier that we matched them up with. Very happy, actually. It was a great solution. That wasn't the issue. They signed a 36-month agreement. They got the free phones, only to find out that the phone number that they had, and this is actually very rare, you guys, the phone number that they had resided with a very small telco company that was not bound by FCC regulations to have to legally allow the client to port their numbers to another service provider by law. What does this mean? Short version, the client was literally not able to port their phone numbers into the new service provider. Can't port your numbers into a new service provider. I mean, that service provider, it doesn't matter how great their service is. I mean, that's kind of useless, That's like having new cell phone service with a new cell carrier, and you can't port your number from your old cell carrier into that new cell service. Doesn't matter how cheap the service is or how great the new phone is you got. If you can't use your number, who cares? So, we went back to the service provider. The service provider looked into everything, and they came back and honestly said, I'm sorry, Mr. Such and Such, we cannot port your phone numbers over. It's impossible. We tried everything, and they went ahead and let them out of the contract. Typically, any good service provider, they don't want to just hold you hostage and try to take your money to be a jerk. They literally want to have a happy customer. Like, the last thing they want is you to go on Yelp or Google or YouTube and talk horribly about their business, most of them, I'm being honest with you guys, most of them will do right by you as long as you're not being rude and you're not being negligent in regards to their contract or how you're utilizing their service. I will go as far as saying we see very many cancellations. You guys are going to laugh when I say this, but like I've sold hundreds and hundreds of contracts and I've been doing this for a while. And I've been fortunate to work with literally hundreds of businesses across the United States and some even overseas. And I could count all of the cancellations that I know about on both hands and still have fingers left. So, I mean, typically most of the service providers, they will do whatever is necessary to keep you in contract, because if you leave, that's monthly income for them that they lose. So, anyways, in short, while cancellations in our experiences are pretty rare, if you cancel on a month-to-month, you owe nothing except potentially a prorate from however far into that month or billing cycle you are. And if you cancel on a term, you are definitely going to owe either the term. Most of the carriers may even try to work something out like a prorated fee, like hey, even though you owe this many months, if you just pay us this, we'll let you out. Have a nice day. And they don't want the phones back. They don't care about the phones, with except rare exceptions, which I've not seen yet, where one has tried to track somebody down till the ends of the earth to get the phones back or something like that. Let's see here. Okay, so in conclusion here, I want to go through a few things in conclusion to wrap this video up. I recommend that you read the terms. You guys know how this is. It's no different than people using social media like Instagram and Facebook. Nobody reads these terms and conditions. I'll be honest with you. I work with customers all day, every day that are more or less happy customers. None of them, I'm pretty sure, read the terms in any of these agreements. If we're being honest, I didn't even read the terms and conditions with the carrier that we used when I signed up 14 years ago, and I really don't care to go back and read it. But if you're somebody who, for some reason, I work with a lot of folks. Like I've worked with some that, we might be getting bought out by a company within the next few months or something like that, and they may not want to keep this service, or, we may go out of business or sell our company or something like that because of the pandemic or because we get an opportunity that's really good. You may want to read that contract. I would encourage you to read it if you've got the time and the energy and you think that there's something in the soon or near future that may merit that you have the ability to get out of that contract without taking a pretty serious hit to the pocketbook or to your bank account. You may want to actually take the time to read it. Let's see here. Higher terms, this is just some tips I want to give you guys in conclusion. Higher terms will typically give you greater discounts. For example, typically when you work with me, I can get you better price than if you go direct with any carrier, even if you're looking at a month-to-month. But if you decide to go 12-month, I can get you an even better discount usually. You decide to go 24 or 24-month, same as usually a 12-month, but 24-month is kind of that sweet spot where me or any decent carrier is going to give you a really good discount. 36-month, you're talking even lower monthly pricing, and I can usually even get you free phones for all of your staff, depending on who the service provider in question that we're looking at is. So higher terms typically get you better discounts and potentially even free hardware. Let's see here. Other thing I wanted to say, price increases on the monthly bill, like the actual what you're paying per extension or for your local numbers or toll-free number, that's not normal. Even though I know some of you who are watching have probably been like, oh my God, my internet provider, my old analog phone service provider was doing that. That's a game that those guys like to play in some of those sectors. But in my experience, and I've worked with a lot of VoIP providers, most of them do not raise the monthly price of the actual service, regardless of how long you're with them. I've not personally experienced it, and we've had the same provider for 15 years. And I've got customers that I know personally that I've worked with for like 12 to 15 years that are still with the same provider, and their bill is still the same. The only thing that I've personally seen and that many customers have seen go up is the taxes and surcharges. And you have the government, unfortunately, the IRS, the state, the city, and the government, and inflation and just pure economics to blame for that. And there's really nothing you can do about that. Let's see here. So that pretty much concludes this video. If you're watching this video and you're looking for service, as I already mentioned, I represent every single voice over IP carrier in the market. I can definitely get you better pricing than if you shop direct. So come to me first before you engage them. I can get you quotes. I can coordinate demos. I can set you up with engineers, for them to be able to answer your, questions in regards to if their service will fit your needs or budget or not. That's what we do all day long. If you found this video helpful, please like the video. Also, hit that notification bell and subscribe to our channel because we upload new videos every single week. Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business phone and internet service in the United States. I'll catch you guys again in the next video.